Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another First Impressions video. In today's First Impressions video, we are taking a look at the Tisas 1911 A1. And before we get this video started, I wanted to let you guys know, as always, how you can support everything that I do here on the channel. Head down there to the description, check out all the links. Any of that support seriously helps me out. And if you're looking to defeat these crazy YouTube algorithms that are constantly pushing down gun content, any activity on the video seriously helps, like commenting down below, hitting the subscribe button, ringing the bell. To start off this video, I swear to God, guys, I am not a FUD. There is just something about a mil-spec 1911 that catches my damn eye, okay? I really like them. Come on, just leave me alone. I've already been getting nailed in the discords and the comment sections about this, but I swear to God, I am not a FUD. I just can't turn away from a mil-spec 1911 in the case. You guys know I just recently did a review on the Cimarron / Rock Island 1911 on the channel. If you guys want to see that video, you can click the card up in the right-hand corner of your screen right now. I love that 1911. I was really raving about that thing in the video, and then I saw this Tisas 1911 A1 pop into the case at the gun shop that I work at. This thing has a pretty ridiculously low price tag. We had it on our shelf brand new for $399. And at that price, I just simply could not turn it down. I wanted to see how this 1911 would do. Cimarron did a great job importing this because it is basically a standard 1911 non-A1. There's some very small, minute A1 upgrades to this to make it a little bit more shootable, but as far as the frame goes and other things on the gun, it is essentially a true 1911 pre-A1 design. This 1911 A1 from Tisas is going to be the opposite of that. They did an incredibly good job getting this thing as true to spec to a standard A1 design as they possibly could. You're going to see an awesome greenish finish on the gun, which again would be appropriate to the time period that the A1 is coming about, being re-arsenaled and different things like that. You have these brown plastic grip, which again are going to be period correct. You have this scalloped frame there, an A1 correct beaver tail and back strap is slightly bobbed there. A1 correct trigger, which you'll notice has the knurling on the end of the trigger. Very comfortable trigger at the range. An A1 correct hammer, A1 correct ejection port, A1 correct serrations. All of this stuff is awesome. It has Series 70s internals, and if you didn't guess it already, this is a Turkish-made 1911. It is made by Tisas in Turkey, but then imported by SDS Imports. There's a few things that Turkey can do pretty well, and that is MP5 clones, 1911 clones, spoiler alert, and pumping out a ridiculous amount of oddball, weird shotguns in a time where shotgun availability is ridiculous. They send in the box this little card here that's actually on the gun itself in the case that tells you it is a forged frame and slide, has Series 70s internals, and uses standard 1911 magazines. I'm sure we could have all guessed that. And then also has hardened before machined components. So that is going to tell you a little bit about the strength of the gun. Now, originally in the case, I thought this was a true Parkerizing job. Now, after bringing it to the range, I'm not 100% sure. It kind of has that really cool old school greenish Parkerizing look to it, and if you guys have ever seen an old school like M1 carbine, M1 Garand 1903s, or even original 1911 A1s from that era, they all have this very unique greenish Parkerizing job, which is definitely something that you're gonna see on a gun out of that time period. So they did a really good job of matching that. A lot of people aren't familiar with that process and see this kind of weird colored 1911 in the case, and they think it is just a bad job or it looks weird. And again, that is them trying to get to as close to period correct as possible. The reason why I'm not totally sure if this is a Parkerizing job is because there's some spots on the gun that just, I don't know, it kind of feels like it's Cerakoted. There's a little bit of a wave on the safety back here, slight amount of waves in some areas that would indicate that it's not really that Parkerizing job, but it feels a little bit more like a Cerakote. And internally, it does look like the wear pattern that would generally happen with a Cerakote job. I'm not 100% sure because they actually don't show this model on Tisas's website. Where I was able to find it is on SDS Imports website, because I think this is a specific model that Tisas makes for only the US import market, and they don't show anything as far as what the finish is other than mil spec finish. So I don't know if that means it's Parkerized, I don't know if that means it's Cerakoted, I have absolutely no idea, and if somebody from Tisas wants to chime in down in the comment section, that would be pretty awesome. The gun ships with one standard Parkerized, and this is definitely Parkerized, I can tell by the finish, Metgar magazine. This is one 7-round GI mag. This mag worked great, no issues at all. As far as other magazine compatibility, I shot this with an 8-round Metgar mag, the blued magazines, actually a couple of these, and again, no problems. The Wilson Combat slightly extended base plate 8-rounder, no issues. And then the more flush fitting Wilson Combat base plate magazine, no problems with that. 10-round mag, Wilson Combat mag, no issues. And then another GI mag, this one's actually a Springfield mag, and same deal, no problems with that either. I ended up putting 200 rounds through it. Unfortunately, that was all just brass and steel case target ammo. I did not want to spare any of my hollow points, and although ammunition is getting ever so slightly better, 45 is still incredibly tough to find and incredibly tough to buy a large quantity of. So 200 is about as much ammo as I can spare for this first impressions video, and there were no malfunctions of any type with this gun. It shot great, no hiccups on steel case ammo. The one thing that I did notice, and unfortunately I cannot replicate the problem, so this may very well be just a little bit of a parts break-in sort of thing, there were a few times that when I was racking the slide to the rear, I actually got some hammer follow. This is generally a big no-no when it comes to 1911s, because that means that if you were to have chambered around and you get a hammer follow, there's a very good chance that the gun actually would have fired when you did not want it to. There were 3 times that during dry firing of the gun, I noticed hammer follow. My finger was on the trigger, holding to the rear to feel the reset, and it was, of course, always a time when I did not have my camera on, and a time where I really wasn't paying attention. I was just kind of racking the slide back, and I went up to dry fire the gun, and I'm like, oh, geez, the hammer's actually forward on that, and I did not pull the trigger. So there were a few times that that happened. A lot of the time with brand new 1911s that have not been broken in yet, sometimes they will have a slight amount of a break-in period. I'm not a break-in period type of person. I believe a gun should really be kind of good to go out of box, but it is what it is. I did not experience that issue at all during shooting, so I really don't want to ding the gun too much for that, because again, it didn't do that to me at all during the firing process of the gun, so I don't think that's something that's really going to be an issue. But you might want to rack the slide a few times pretty hard just to make sure that your hammer does not experience any sort of issues falling forward. As far as the sights, you're having standard 1911 A1 sights. Of course, as most people understand, these sights are really not great. As far as patterning with this gun at about 20-25 yards, you guys will notice a few shots on paper where I'm trying to get as best of a group as I possibly can. There's a lot of human error involved there, because obviously I am not just bench resting the pistol. I'm trying to show you guys practical grouping out of an average shooter, and I was getting about a 2.5-inch group at 25 yards with 8 to 10 rounds. There were a few times where I actually did a 10-round group, and again, that was no issues at all. So for standard combat accuracy, I am pretty pleased with that. Where the trigger is actually placed for the length of pull, mixed with the Series 70's internals. If you guys don't know, you can Google a quick difference between a Series 70 internal and a Series 80 internals. The Series 80 has additional safeties which sometimes can make the trigger pull slightly worse than a Series 70. You really have to be a 1911 trigger snob to kind of notice these things. I've held in front of me before a Series 70 and a Series 80, and I've pulled the trigger on both, and it's really tough for me to feel the difference. In this Series 70 though, the trigger is mint. You are going to get a slight amount of take up. You're going to hit a super crisp wall, and then your break. Now, as far as the reset, it's going to bring you right there, a little bit of take up again, and your brake. This is an awesome standard government mil-spec trigger. No issues at all with it. Generally speaking, a mil-spec trigger on a 1911 is going to be great. It's going to be worlds better than a lot of other triggers that are out there, especially for other striker-fired guns and different things like that. Of course, it's a big personal preference thing. I did notice that with the length of pull, if you will, for your trigger finger compared to the more OG 1911 design, which has a slightly further forward trigger and brake, I did notice that this was actually a little bit easier for me to get very, very quick follow-up shots or quick mag dumps if need be, and that was pretty nice. As far as the grips themselves, they're going to have a good bit of texture, but it would be probably worth swapping these out. What I plan on swapping these out for is actually original GI surplus plastic grips. I think that's going to add a very, very cool look overall to the pistol, and you can find those surplus GI grips out there for like 10 bucks, and they are pretty available as of right now. It is worth noting that they are a little bit slick, so it may be something that you want to upgrade, and you can just kind of tell that they are brand new. They don't really have any sort of wear or patina, so if you're looking to have just kind of a little bit more of a cool retro looking 1911 A1, I think these would be worth swapping out, and of course any other standard 1911 grips are going to fit just fine. Tisas does make and import to the US market a 9mm version of this 1911 A1. It's going to be the same in every way other than having a 9mm barrel and of course a 9mm magazine. The spring is slightly lighter in that gun. I know what you guys are probably wondering, Joe, which one do you like more? The Cimarron standard 1911 or the Tisas 1911 A1? And I gotta tell you guys, it is a very tough call. I really don't know that I have an answer for you. I will say that overall, I think I like the Cimarron a little bit better. The one thing you guys have to remember is this Cimarron is essentially made on government Colt tooling from back in the day. We're talking good Colt tooling that has really good old school Colt reliability. Of course, I am not talking about Cimarron. I am talking about the actual manufacturer of this 1911, which is Rock Island, or the Rock Island manufacturing plant in the Philippines. Guys, that is going to wrap this video up on the Tisas 1911 A1 here. If you guys have any other questions about this 1911 or anything else on the channel, please throw them down below in the comment section, and you guys know I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description, check out the links to the Firearm Freedom Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. I have daily posts coming out over there that you guys are not going to want to miss. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more great videos to come soon.